What would you think if human feet started washing up on your local beach? In British Columbia, that exact nightmare began in 2007, and it hasn't stopped since. I'm Gabrielle, and this is TheEndReel, where I tell true ghost stories, folklore, myths, legends, and strange cases that defy explanation. Real accounts retold for those of us who can't help but wonder what lingers in the stranger corners of life, and what's waiting just beyond what we understand. So wherever you're listening from, turn down the lights and let's begin. On the 20th of August 2007, a 12-year-old girl made a grisly discovery on a beach in British Columbia, in the form of a decomposed foot still wearing a sock and a blue and white trainer. 6 days later, a couple out for a walk on another beach nearby made a similar discovery: a foot inside a white and black Reebok trainer. While both feet were the same shoe size, the different trainers, and more importantly the fact that they were both right feet, made it obvious that they had come from different people. The 2 feet proved to be just the beginning. The following year, 5 more feet washed up on beaches in the same area of British Columbia, triggering a great deal of alarm and speculation by the media and local population. Theories range from cargo containers of human trafficking victims chained by their feet that had ended up at the bottom of the Pacific, to the mafia disposing of bodies, to serial killers, to the victims of a tsunami or a plane crash, to, inevitably, aliens. More fuel was poured onto the fire by pranksters who left shoes containing animal feet and chicken bones on the beach. Since that day in 2007, over 20 feet have washed up on beaches in British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest of the USA. Some have been found to be matching pairs, and some have even had their owners identified. The most recent of which was a foot found in 2019 that was identified as belonging to Antonio Neal, who went missing in December of 2016 at the age of 22. And a foot complete with an attached tibia and fibula that was wearing a black trainer that was found the previous year and was identified as coming from 79-year-old Stanley K. Okamoto, who disappeared in 2017. The record for the oldest missing person case to be matched to a foot found on the beach is currently held by a foot encased in a hiking boot that was discovered in 2011 and was found to belong to a man who went missing while fishing in 1985. However, many of the feet continue to be those of John and Jane Doe's. Identifying the person who the foot came from is often easier said than done, due to prolonged saltwater immersion and decomposition destroying any identifying marks and frequently damaging DNA past the point that it can be successfully tested. Even when a viable DNA sample is obtained, there often isn't anything on record to match it to. So where were the feet coming from? Forensic examination of them revealed 2 key pieces of information. All the feet had an absence of tool marks, and many of them were coated in adipocere, a waxy substance that forms when tissue decomposes in cold, low-oxygen environments and can last for years and even decades. The former means that the feet hadn't been deliberately removed by anyone, and the latter indicates that the bodies that the feet belonged to had ended up at the bottom of the ocean and had been down there for quite a while. The truth, it turns out, is far less sinister and dramatic than the feet being the work of a serial killer or the result of the mob making people sleep with the fishes, although still fairly gruesome and quite sad. While ascertaining cause of death from just a foot is usually nigh impossible, none of the cases so far have been found to be the result of murders. Some are confirmed to be suicides or accidents, The rest remain unknown. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that a lot of bodies end up in the sea one way or another. No foul play required. But why feet, and why do they keep washing up on the beaches in that particular area? The answer, while still not something most people would want to think about, is entirely the product of natural processes. Firstly, it has been established via scientific experiments that a dead body is more likely to sink than float. Once at the bottom of the sea, it is only a matter of time before it attracts a large number of scavengers, mainly crustaceans. Experiments where pig carcasses were dropped into the ocean, along with underwater cameras near to where the feet were found, revealed that they can reduce a corpse to a skeleton in as little as under 4 days, but tend to avoid hard parts of the body like bone, instead working their way through softer tissue. Since that softer tissue is what holds joints like the knees and ankles in place, this soon results in disarticulation of the body. The fact that the majority of the feet discerned were wearing trainers is also key to the answer. Trainers are robust enough to keep the feet within neatly contained and protect them from hungry marine life. More importantly, while feet washing up on beaches wasn't unknown prior to 2007, the oldest case on record being a leg in a boot found in 1887, there was a massive uptick in cases after then, which coincides with the point in time when trainers started to be made from lightweight foams and have features such as air pockets incorporated into their soles. Once the feet wearing them are detached from the rest of the body, the shoes provide just enough buoyancy for them to float rather than remain on the seabed, at which point they are swept along by wind and currents. The high number of cases in British Columbia and the neighbouring beaches in the USA is simply because the tide, current and wind patterns in that part of the Pacific cause a lot of debris in general to get washed up there, which sometimes happens to include human feet. Similar events have been reported worldwide, although with far less frequency, and it is likely that more go unreported. It is also likely that an unknown number of trainer-clad feet are floating around somewhere in the open ocean, never to be recovered. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below with your thoughts. It helps more curious souls find their way right here. New episodes drop regularly, each one a dive into the strange, the haunted, and the things we were never meant to understand. Until next time, keep your lights low, your curiosity high, and stay tuned for the next episode of TheEndReel.